Hi readers, Chris here. Today, Meepers and I are doing a special book tag, the Red Panda Book Tag. I was tagged in this video by Jeremy Fee. The original tag was created by Red Panda Reads, who is a new booktuber to me, but Jeremy Fee did my ferret book tag and then did her Red Panda book tag. So of course, I had to give this one a try, join my fellow animal lovers out there, and I can't wait to go through this tag with you. Are you excited, Meepers? No, you're not very excited? Okay. I do have the questions all pulled up on my computer here, so if you see me looking down, that is what I am doing. So, question number 1 says, red pandas are reddish/brown, medium-sized mammals that live in Southeast Asia. Name your favorite fictional animal companion. I wanted to find a different one because I kind of asked the same question on my tag. So my choice for this tag is Martin the mouse from the Mossflower, Redwall series. So this particular book is called Martin the Warrior, but it's actually part of a 20 book long series called the Redwall series. If you're not familiar with Redwall, they are books for younger readers and they're about animals. So in this world, all the animals talk, and it's basically a adventure tale with mice and badgers and sometimes ferrets and cats, and they all live in the forest. This particular one is kind of like the prequel to the main book that started it all. Martin was supposed to be like an ancient hero type warrior. Obviously, he's a cute little mouse, so I loved this series growing up. If you're looking for something that is super, super fun and cute, or if your kids are looking for something super, super fun and cute to read, I definitely recommend the Redwall series. Prompt number 2 says, red pandas are endangered with fewer than 2,500 left in the world. Name a book that's made you think differently about a serious issue. Oh my god. This tag was hard to pick for. You're going to hear me say that a lot during this video. But the book that I went with is one that I read earlier this year, which is The Girl with the Louding Voice. Because this book, I feel like it doesn't cover just one serious issue, it covers a bunch. So if you're not familiar with The Girl with the Louding Voice, it's about a young girl growing up in rural Nigeria. She gets married off, basically sold at a very, very young age to a man who has multiple wives. Crazy things start happening to her. She has to escape the village and then go to the big city, and then a whole bunch of other things happen there. And it's quite crazy what this girl has to go through. So this book covers things like women's rights in rural Africa. It covers jungle law and jungle justice and things like that. It covers overpopulation. It covers wealth disparity, economics. It covers so many different things, and after reading this book, I spent a ton of time on Google and on Wikipedia trying to look up if the things that happen in this book are actually still going on today, and of course they are. So I had no idea about a lot of this stuff. It's a whole nother country and culture that I was not familiar with. So if you're looking for something like that, Girl with the Louding Voice, I read it earlier this year. It was a great book. A little hard to read at sometimes because of the horrible things that happened to this girl, but it's a really good book. Prompt number 3 says, habitat loss is the #1 threat to red pandas. Name a book where a character is forced to leave their home. Now, this is a super common fantasy trope, YA fantasy trope. Something happens, someone does a mistake, or they have a special power, something, they're forced to leave their home. So many options here, but the one that I'm going with, a book that I don't think I've mentioned before on this channel, and that is Firestarter by Stephen King. If you're not familiar with this is one of King's earlier books, and basically it's about a couple who, when they were trying to get pregnant, joined a government, a scientific government group where they were basically experimented on, which caused their daughter to be born with these supernatural powers. She basically has, they call it pyrokinesis. She can light fires with her mind. Now, of course, years later, she's growing up and the government wants to take back control because she's basically their experiment, and her father have to go on the run. They already got her mother, killed her mother, so now it's just up to her and her father to flee from the government. And yeah, this is actually a really good book, really exciting. It's really cool. I can't go into it that much farther without giving away a bunch of details, but Firestarter, awesome book. I wouldn't call this like horror. It's more like a thriller slash like, I don't know, crime drama almost, with a little bit of magic thrown in. So Firestarter, definitely recommend this if you're looking to, if you've never read a Stephen King book and want to start somewhere, this would be a good one to start with. Prompt number 4 says, the Red Panda Network is an incredible charity that not only protects red pandas, but tackles gender inequality in Nepal. Talk about a book that discusses gender. To me, there is no better person that discusses gender in their books than Philippa Gregory. Philippa Gregory, you've heard me talk about her before. I've read so many books by her. She does such a great job of talking about gender politics in like the past, the way that it used to be in the past in England. So we're talking like Tudor era England, 1500s, 1600s, basically the times when women had absolutely zero rights. Like they weren't even considered people. They could not have any of their own money, none of their own wealth. They couldn't own anything. People owned them. And I think a really great example of this is Whiteacre. So this is a trilogy of books. It's a historical fiction, and it's basically about a family that lives on a farm, so they're landowners. They have a daughter, her name is Beatrice, and Beatrice wants the farm, but because she's a woman, she can't. So what Beatrice goes through to try and take power, like take over, is absolutely insane and really begs the question, how far is too far to go to get what you want? It's super fascinating, slightly sexy, but also super crazy, like a lot of Philippa Gregory's books are. It's an awesome book. It's an awesome series. Could not stop turning the page on this one. Prompt number 5 says, Firefox, the internet browser, is named after red pandas and used to have a Red Panda live stream. Name a book that does something interesting with technology. Again, another super hard prompt to pick a book for because there's so many choices, but in the end, I decided to go with To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. If you've been following me for a while, this is one of my favorite books last year. I absolutely loved it. But the technology piece, I think, in here that's most interesting is we have a young girl. Her name is Kira, I forgot already. Kyra, I don't know. It's not important. She ends up finding this like alien artifact. Now, the artifact that she finds is a blend of technology and like a real life organism. And I think that the way that the story uses that, the part technology, part life, and at what point is it technology and what point is it actual sentient life, is really, really cool. It's a really, really cool question. It's something that the characters struggle with throughout the story. Like, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be alive? Like, what does that really mean? And I think it's a really, really cool way to look at technology and make you question so many different things and what technology really means and what it means to be human. Prompt number 6 says, red pandas are one of the few animals that can walk down trees headfirst. Name a character that always walks headfirst into danger. The very first name that popped up into my head is Vin from Mistborn. I just read this book a few months ago, and Vin is definitely that character. She's our main character, and in the beginning of the book, she starts out as this like shy little street thief. But even though she is shy and quiet, she uses that to like make people not notice her. So even though she wants to be unnoticed, she also wants to be like in the action. No one can stop her from jumping into danger, or I should say sneaking into danger, because she sticks to the shadows. She always goes into the danger, but she does it usually in like a smart way that no one notices. People try to stop her throughout the story and try to prevent her from doing X, Y, and Z or getting involved in X, Y, and Z. There's no stopping her. Like, she's going to do what she wants. She's going to sneak in. She's going to sneak around, and she's going to make herself known if there's trouble. She will step up and she will fight. Then she's always wandering into things. You can't keep her away. She's my pick for this prompt. Prompt number 7 is, pandas have a sweet tooth. What is your favorite sweet thing to eat or drink while reading? Every morning when I wake up, the first thing I do is pour myself a cup of coffee and get out my books. I try to spend about an hour reading every morning and drinking my coffee, so coffee is my pick for this question. Prompt number 8 says, red pandas have pseudo-thumbs, modified wrist bones, which allows them to hold on to things. Name a book that you've had for years that you can't let go of. I had to dig deep for this one. There's a lot of books that I've had for way too long from my younger years. So one that I picked up from the very back of the bookshelf is Tales of the Bounty Hunters. This is a Star Wars anthology. It's a collection of short stories about bounty hunters in the Star Wars world. If you're just even a casual Star Wars person, you may recognize Boba Fett right up here. That's the reason I got this book. I went through a phase in my very, very, very younger years that I was obsessed with Boba Fett. I was never a big Star Wars fan. I am not an uber fan, a stan. I'm not a Star Wars stan by any means. But when the prequels came out, because that was when I was growing up, that's when I started getting into Star Wars, like at that point in time. I really loved Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I loved Boba Fett. He was my favorite character. I just thought he was so cool. So I got this. I loved this book, and then one other book. I have not read this book in probably 20 to 30 years, 25-ish years. And I have no plans to reread it anytime soon, but I don't think I'm ever going to get rid of it because it reminds me of a point in my life, and I still love Boba Fett, so not going to get rid of it anytime soon. Prompt number 9 says, there are 2 species of red panda. Name a duology that you love. I wish that there was actually more duologies, but the first one, again, that jumped to my mind is Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. I love Laini Taylor. She's one of my favorite, YA fantasy authors. I seriously hope that she comes out with more books, because she only really has the Shadow and Bone trilogy and then this duology, these 2 books. I could do a whole video just about these books, but if you're not familiar with Strange the Dreamer, basically we have a young boy. His name is Laszlo Strange. He's a librarian. He lives in this city, and he lives in a town, and he spends all his time in the library, and he's heard about this magical city called Weep that no one's ever been to. No one really knows if it really exists, and it's supposed to have all these crazy magical things like gods and famous warriors and all this stuff. Now, one day, out of nowhere, this caravan arrives and they say, hey, we're from this magical city of Weep. We have a problem there and we need help. Laszlo ends up going with them, and ta-da, he ends up in this magical city that does have a very serious problem. I can't even get into it here, but basically there are a group of children who are gods, so these god-like children that live above the city. One of them has the power to, every night she goes out on the balcony above the city, and no one knows that they're there, by the way. They're up there all alone. They can't leave. They cannot contact anyone. No one knows they're there. So every night she goes out on her balcony, opens her mouth. All of these moths fly out of her mouth, fly down to the city, and land on people's heads, and she can see in their dreams. Crazy, right? This is such a unique tale, what happens to Laszlo and his caravan and the other people that come to Weep, the city, magical city, what happens to the people who are living there, and then what happens to the god children that are up in the sky. It's insane. It's so creative. It's so unique. It's so special. I love this duology. If you haven't read it and you're into fantasy, I would definitely recommend giving it a try. So that's my pick for this prompt. Finally, we come to the end, which is tag some friends. I'm going to make this a totally open tag, so if you want to do this, I say go ahead and do it, and let Red Panda Reads know so she knows that you did it. I think it's a super fun tag. Anything about animals, I'm totally here for, so please, please, please give this one a try when you're looking for a new tag to do. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel, all the things. Hope everyone has a happy Friday and happy reading.